Was good, y'all? Rich Sosa back in a building with another banger. Now, first things first, before we go ahead and get started, I gotta go ahead and say thank God for another day and another opportunity. Now, as y'all can see from the looks of the title and the screen, today I put together a very special build for y'all. Now, I'm gonna be calling it the Playmaking Lockdown. But this build is going to come out to a Catfish 2-way 3-point shot creator. Now this is easily one of the best 6-8 builds to make out of any position. Now look, we're going to be able to get pro dribble moves out of this build as well as pro contact dunks. And then when it comes down to our attributes, we're going to be able to get a 100 plus when it comes down to the 3-point shot, ball handle, perimeter, but also the interior defense, block, and steal with a 95 plus acceleration. Now this build, out of all players, it's going to remind me of a few: Scottie Pippen, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, some of the best defenders of all time. Now this is exactly what you're going to be getting out of this build. So I know you can see from the gameplay what we're able to do: shoot, play defense, finish on the inside, but most importantly, we're going to be able to ISO and dribble out of this build. So before we get any further into this video, if it's your first time coming through, be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, smash that like button, turn on post notifications to be a part of the Rich family, and last but definitely not least, comment down TG for thank God and where you're tuning in from, and I most definitely will be sure to get back to y'all with a response. So let's go ahead and get started with the creation of this build. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is put it under the point guard position. Now as far as when it comes down to everything else today, you're going to want to be sure to keep a close eye because every single attribute and body setting is going to be very important. So when it comes down to our height, go with 6'8". As for the weight, I'm going to go with 180. And then when it comes down to our wingspan, I'm going to go with 7'6". Now the body shape, it comes down to how you want to go about this. I'm going to go with defined. And from here, we're all set to go with the breakdown of the attributes. And the first area that I want to get into is going to be the physicals. So for the speed, I'm going to go ahead and put this up to an 80. As for when it comes down to the acceleration, I'm going to put this to an 82. Now for now, I will skip over the strength, but go with the 78 when it comes down to the vertical. Now the stamina, I'm going to put this to an 86, and do take into consideration the +4 from the Gatorade workouts or the gym rat badge. Now that's going to make a huge difference out of this area, and from here we're going to start when it comes down to the defensive end. So as far as when it comes down to that defensive rebound, I'm going to go with the 70. As for when it comes down to the block, I'm going to go ahead and put this to a 93, and then moving on to the steal, I'm going to go ahead and put this to a 95. Now these numbers are all optional, don't feel forced to stick with what I put out. Now for the perimeter defense, I'm going to go with an 88, and then for that interior, go with an 81, and this actually will allow us to unlock rim protecting takeover. Now we get 24 badges, and as you can see, the ones that I'm primarily focused on are going to be Box Out Beast, we get Post Lockdown, Hall of Fame Menace, Chase Down Artist with Glove and Interceptor, and then for tier 3, I'm happy with Gold Anchor. Now we're off to a pretty good start when it comes down to the defensive end. For the playmaking, go ahead and put the speed with ball up to a 77. Now as for when it comes down to the ball handle, I'm going to go with an 89. And then moving on to the pass accuracy, go with the 78. And right there we get a total of 22 badges. Now I like Hall of Fame Ankle Breaker, Hyperdrive, also Quick First Step, Vice Grip with killer combos and handles for days. Now I did show y'all how good we're able to dribble and ISO, and it's really going to pair up nicely when it comes down to the shooting and the finishing. So when it comes down to this area, go ahead and put the mid-range shot up to a 71. As for the three-pointer, I'm going to go with an 84, and right there as you can see, we get 18 badges. Now for that free throw, I'm going to go with an 80. And then when it comes down to the ones that I'm focused on, I'm looking at Amp, also Hall of Fame Space Creator, Volume Shooter, Agent 3, and then Brown's Limitless Range. Now there's definitely other badges that you can focus on when it comes down to this build, but as far as what I'm showing you, definitely one of the better builds that I've brought to y'all when it comes down to the 6'8" height. But I think this is one of the best builds that you can make regardless of how you go about the badge layout. Now for the finishing, what you need to do is put this driving dunk up to an 86, and then moving on to the layup, go with 70, and right there we should be getting 10 badges. Now look, we get Acrobat, Giant Slayer, Pro Touch, Aerial Wizard, Fearless Finisher, pretty much everything that we need. Now it is possible to unlock Posterizer, Limitless Takeoff, and Slithery. Really comes down to how you go about the adjustments and adding extra badges. But do take into consideration buying your own boosts, the additional boost that you get from running with the teammate that has on Hall of Fame floor general. Now the better we play, our stats also gradually will raise. And then from 2 separate takeovers, that will give you a plus 10 towards 2 separate areas on this build. Now overall, I think this is one of the most complete builds that you can make. So when it comes down to the takeovers, we get the sharpshooting, playmaking, lockdown, and then the rim protecting. Now there's definitely a lot of ways that you can go about this. If you want the most out of the playmaking, definitely go ahead and pick one of these first. But for my best interest, I'm going to go with Limitless Range Takeover. The second one I like is going to be Paint Intimidation, but you can also go with the Extreme Clamps. Now whichever ones you decide to go ahead and put on towards this build, make sure you add up all of the boosts that I did mention earlier. So we're going to go ahead and find out what this build comes out to be. And as y'all can see, if we followed every single step together, we should get these 3 comparisons. And we have created the Playmaking Lockdown, which comes out to a Catfish 2-way 3-point shot creator. Now let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Did you make this build exactly how I brought it to y'all, or recreate your own version? Now when it comes down to the attributes and everything that I did just previously mention, this is what the true potential is going to be looking like today. So add a plus 20 towards whichever areas you went with, and that's what we're going to be able to do when it comes down to the attribute side. Now from here, let's get into the breakdown of the badge layout. So for this build, as for the finishing, I'm going to go with Bronze Fearless Finisher, Rise Up, Gold Pro Touch, Giant Slayer, Aerial Wizard as the core badge, and like I mentioned earlier, you can go the extra route to unlock any of the tier 3 badges. As for the tier 1, you can consider Acrobat or even any of the post scoring. Now for the shooting, I'm going to go ahead and first go with Green Machine on Bronze, Core, Limitless Range, Silver Agent 3, Gold Amped, and then Hall of Fame Space Creator with Volume Shooter. Now there's definitely other ones that you can take into consideration, but I think this is the best setup to start with to boost our shooting percentage. And these will be the jump shots that we can pick and recreate from, just to give y'all an idea of what today's build can do on this end. Now for the playmaking, I'm going to go with Bronze Vice Grip, Silver Handles for Days, Gold Core Killer Combos, Hyperdrive with Hall of Fame Ankle Breaker, and Quick First Step. Now for this kind of badge layout with pro dribble moves, I think it's really a super toxic defensive build. Now we haven't even gotten to the badges, but as far as for the offensive end as a whole, really going to be hard to compare when it comes down to the defense. We get Bronze Post Lockdown, Rebound Chaser, but this is adjustable to get Hall of Fame Menace and more. Now from there, I'm going to go with Silver Box Out Beast, Gold Glove, Interceptor, Core Anchor, and then Hall of Fame Chase Down Artist. Now if you want to go the route to get any of the other tier 3 badges, go ahead and do so. But these badges that I did go with, I think is really the best setup to start with, at least for my own preference and style. Now let me know down below your thoughts and opinions today. Did you recreate this build how I brought it to y'all, or did you make your own version? Now look, before we get out of here, I just gotta say thank God for another day and another opportunity. God bless y'all, and if it was your first time coming through, be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, smash that like button, turn on post notifications to be a part of the Rich family, and last but definitely not least, comment down TG for thank God and where you're tuning in from, and I'll be sure to get back to y'all with the response. And with all that being said though, I got one last thing to say. Rich out.